still go, 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 go.
Knudsen,
Mr. Tursky, what's going on?
this is Two Guys Talking Golf.
Welcome back to another week, brother.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little exhausted today. I had a rough trip back from the Travelers Championship in wonderful Cromwell, Connecticut.
Yeah?
We had a flight cancellation issue out of JFK. I was flying out of JFK, so it was already rough getting down there. Traffic going into JFK. I don't know if any of our listeners are privy to the East Coast New York traffic, but it's not great. So I had a rough little drive down there from the event. Flight cancellation. Took a while to rebook, and the best flight out was an overnight layover in Reno. So,
yeah,
it's really not the ideal situation you're looking for, trying to get back home.
Yeah, I don't think people really look to spend a night in Reno Airport before heading home after flying from the East Coast. I just don't think that's an itinerary most people want.
No, and it could be fun because they do have like slot machines and stuff in the airport, and every single one of them was out of service. So I got to have no fun.
Every single one?
Every single one of them.
They just knew you were coming.
Whole airport out of service.
They just knew you were coming. They're like, shut it down, boys. Like, we're going to make this as miserable as we can for your boy.
That's the type of night it was. But you played golf today. You had your 9-hole league. Do you have any updates to share?
I didn't play well.
Yep.
I shot a 42, and it was just it was interesting. I played a guy. I had to give him 6 strokes on 9 holes. I beat him by 1 gross, so I lost by 5. And
sandbagging.
Yeah, and it was a rough go, man. It was a rough go. I hit a couple good shots that I was pretty happy with. I put myself in some pretty poor positions that I got myself out of, and I hit a couple solid shots. But other than that, it was just one of those grinding days, man, where you're just trying to get the ball in the hole, in just any way possible. So, but
just a couple to keep you coming back.
That's right.
So
but
we'll get into. Do you have more to report? I was going to transition off it, but
I was
going
to maybe
press conference.
Yeah, it was tough out there. The greens were firm, and no, it was. I would say I did. I know that there may be. I think there were some rumblings of maybe some new equipment. Something might have happened this week. I don't know. And I did hit 2 of the good shots that I hit with maybe a brand new piece of equipment.
Okay, so I guess you're going to save that until the topic at hand.
Yes, I will.
You got 2 options. There were two big equipment launches this week, so I don't know which one. You haven't told me yet. But so there were 2 big equipment launches, and then obviously some big general golf news. And then me and Greg were out at the Travelers Championship taking some what's in the bag photos, and we'll definitely get into some equipment on the back end. But we got to start with, unfortunately, this is like a running segment, but obviously Brooks Koepka going to live is a pretty big deal. Especially after all of his press conferences where he was like, what are you guys talking about? You're idiots. I haven't thought about that. It's like 2 days later, he's committing to the LIV Tour. And the LIV announced it like during Jay Monahan's press conference, talking about new PGA Tour shakeup. So, what are some of the thoughts about all that shenanigans?
The Brooks Koepka thing, I'm not really shocked. And reason being, which I think we said it before on a previous podcast where we talked about some LIV stuff. I mean, his brother's over there playing. His brother is not as good of a golfer as Brooks is in terms of world ranking, in terms of talent. And there's a very good chance at the end of this year you could look at money made, and his brother Chase Koepka could have more money in his pocket than Brooks. And
wild.
I know Koepka's won a bunch of majors, and I thought that may have a little stickiness to it that might keep him over the PGA Tour. But I think at the end of the day, he's going to look at it and say, I mean, like all guys are, I can play half the amount of golf, make substantially more money, and right up front, without him hitting a tee shot, they're handing me a big old check. And, I think for Brooks, he doesn't come across as the guy like Rory who has, like, the fire, passion for being on tour and winning. Like, I feel like he's a guy who's there to, a little bit like DJ, he's there to make some money, play some golf. I mean, he's a competitive guy, but I think he's there to make some money. And then the accolades, the majors, whatever, come kind of after that. So not blown away by Brooks going over there. That wasn't a huge shocker to me.
Yeah, one of the least shocking things I've ever heard. I think Brooks is, like, on the record as saying he doesn't really even like golf. Like, he's just good at it and he likes winning. So I don't think him going over there is any shock. Like, my theory on it was, as soon as I saw Chase Koepka was over there in the first event, I'm sure Brooks, like, had some sort of deal like, listen, I'm never going over to the Live Tour unless you take Chase over there, you accept him. And Brooks was probably just moving and shaking behind the scenes, trying to get as much money as he could and wait until after the U.S. Open, and then, boom, dropped it. So nothing surprising there. It makes the equipment switches that he made at the U.S. Open a bit more eye-opening, I guess. Like, is he going to be gone from Srixon? I mean, I know we read Srixon's statement. They were continuing the partnership. I haven't followed up with them since, but I don't know. Are they going to stay on board with him during the Live ordeal? I don't know. I guess that all remains to be seen. I think it remains to be seen for a lot of those guys. Like, are the partnerships going to continue or are they not? Abe Answer, another big signing. I think rumor was definitely floating around that Colin Morikawa was going to go, and he drew the line pretty firm in the sand that he will not be going and that he's committing to the PGA Tour along with Rory, JT. Basically all of the top 15 are committed still to the PGA Tour as far as I know. Now, big shakeups on the PGA Tour. They're obviously adding a lot of prize money to 8 different events throughout the season. I know there's a little shakeup on the fall series. What are your kind of thoughts about that?
So to the first thing you said, and I'll jump into the events from the PGA Tour, but the sponsorship thing is really interesting. I was talking to someone from an OEM earlier in the week, and they kind of mentioned, hey, kind of just about Live, and I was like, yeah, it's really interesting. What do these sponsorship deals now? What are they going to be? Because when you originally signed that deal, whoever you are, DJ Brooks, whoever you want to throw in there, Phil, the assumption was you're playing on the PGA Tour, which brings a certain amount of visibility. Whether it's on TV, whether it's, whatever. But there's some amount of visibility
big time TV
on television.
Contracts,
Yeah, on internet, whatever. All this stuff is, I think, built into that of how much money you're making. And now you go over to this Live Tour, there is no TV deal. Everything has to be watched online. I got to believe the views for even a Travelers, a regular PGA Tour event, has to drastically blow out of the water anything Live is doing online. I think those
at least.
Yeah. So I got to think that these sponsorship deals, where you're wearing a brand hat, whatever company it is, all that, are those going to be a little different when those things expire and come out next? Are they going to renegotiate some of this stuff, whatever? Because that's a very interesting, coming from the OEM side, or sponsorship side, are you getting your money's worth from this player now? That's a pretty interesting concept. And then on the PGA Tour side, I think it's, I don't know. I don't love the idea. I feel like this is, adding these events, adding all this money, just throwing it out there in the way they're doing it, I think is just a very rushed move. I don't think it's it's very short-term calculated, and I think they really should have just kind of ran out the rest of the year, and during this rest of the season, kind of thought about, okay, how can we make, how can we put a little bit more prize money in? How can we incentivize these players to stay? And then done it, I don't want to say right or wrong because we don't know how this is going to shake up yet until we see it, but let's make sure we have a better understanding of how it's going to work and roll it out next year. I feel like whatever they're doing this year could come off as just very rushed and very kind of just thrown out there, telephoned in. I mean, I just don't feel like it's going to be well thought out, and that could backfire a little. But it's exciting to see that the PGA is at least willing to look at change and not just say we're going to put our foot in the ground and this is it. They're looking at, hey, like, we can evolve too. Let's see how we can make things either more exciting or different or more enticing to the players and fans. So that part of it I really do like.
Yeah, I look back at something Ricky Fowler said pretty early on in all these talks. He was like, right now I think PGA Tour is the best place to play. Do I think some changes can be made to make it better? Yeah. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing now. Like, I think the PGA Tour probably had plans to put this in place and to raise the prize money that's involved with some of these events. And I think this all just kind of fast-tracked it. Like, at the end of the day, they're running a business. They want to protect the business, and they want to protect the people that are riding with them on the PGA Tour and staying committed to the PGA Tour. So it's like, you know, how about a little something for the effort over here? Like, we're staying. You know, toss a little more money my way, which I don't think more money floating around on the PGA Tour is a bad thing. I just want to make sure, you know, for me as a fan, that it's going to be ultra competitive, that the players are into it, that it's not just like throwaway money grab tournaments, that, you know, they want to win and they're passionate about winning, and like keeping up with the legacy of the PGA Tour, which is what they've been talking about the whole time. Like, make sure the tournaments do have a place in history, that it matters to the players that are actually playing in it, because that's the huge knock against LIV. I mean, is it great for the players that they're getting huge sums of money, lump sums up front, and they're competing, and they don't really have to play well over there to get the money? Like, yeah, that's great for them and their families, but that doesn't leave us as fans in a great spot, because it's like we're watching people or not watching people, you know, whatever your stance is on it. You're watching people who don't really care about the outcome of the event, and that just, as a fan, that just hurts. You know what I mean? So I think they're doing it the right way. Like, obviously it looks like a reactive move, but I'm sure that plans were in place to increase prize money, and it was just fast-tracked, which is fine. I mean, it looks like backpedaling, and everyone's saying, like, oh, Phil was right, and it's like, yeah, I mean, kind of forced their hand probably a little quicker than they wanted, but in the end, I think it's better for the PGA Tour players, and hopefully it's better for the fans, you know?
Yeah.
That's my 2
cents
on it.
I am really with you on that, and I think you're right. I mean, when you look at you know, some of the LIV stuff and some of these guys that have come out and said, yeah, I don't want to play as much golf, I don't, you know, I kind of don't care, whatever. That makes me want to watch that stuff less, even if it is a little different format or it's a little different setup. You know, I want to watch the guys that like a guy like JT or Rory or whatever. Like, those guys, like, they want to win at all costs, and you know, they're willing to play for either less money or whatever, because they want to have, at the end of the day, the best resume they can possibly have when they hang the bag up for good and call it a career. So I think you're right, and I think, like you said, I mean, to me, this looks like a little bit of a rush decision from the PGA, but I think there could be some really cool stuff done with getting players to qualify for these different events and things like that. That could really hype it up, and as a fan, you could get really excited rooting for kind of your favorite players to either qualify or win or be competitive, whatever. I think there's a whole other side of kind of rooting for the players you like, and you know, in this new format or in these new tournaments or these events, and also too, I'd love to see, you know, the lower end guys. You know, I'd love to see some money, you know, on the back end. You know, not necessarily just winning and, oh wow, you won $3 million now. How about a little bit of money for the guys who, you know, unfortunately they make the cut, but they're not, you know, they're the bottom half. I mean, they got caddies to pay, they got stuff like that. I wouldn't mind seeing those guys making a little more, caddies making a little more, you know, just overall seeing a little more money put in there for even those guys, not just necessarily the winners.
And I just thought of this comparison. I don't know if this comparison's already floating around, but just popped in my head, so I figured I'd say it. I think, like, you know, the more top players go over there, and people are saying, like, well, I want to watch the top players play in one tournament. And so their case would be like, LIV is getting a lot of top players, so ipso facto, we're all going to watch. But it's like, how many people really watch the All-Star game? It's like, that's a collection of top players, but they don't care about winning, and the product itself suffers because it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of just a celebration of how good we are at that point. Like, I want to watch the NBA Finals. I want to watch the NCAA championship, where guys will do anything to win, and it's about winning the event. It's not about just let's collect because we're all good at golf and let's collect a bunch of money. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make for entertainment, and it just doesn't make me feel good as a golf fan. But either way,
that's 100% true, man.
We can continue on to other things now.
I like that because I'll tell you what, I will watch any NFL playoff game before I'll ever watch the Pro Bowl. I ain't watching the Pro Bowl. Okay, I don't care.
I'm not watching
the Pro Bowl. Yeah, you could be like, hey, I'll pay you $20 to watch the Pro Bowl. I'm like, no, I'd rather watch this playoff game for free. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So
I'll scroll on Twitter and notice the jerseys that year or something like that, and just see what's going on. But I'm not putting it on the actual station. Either way, big equipment launch.
Yep.
Titleist. The drivers in Fairway Woods are officially unveiled out on tour. TSR is the name.
Yep.
It's TSR 2, TSR 3, TSR 4 for the drivers. Yep. And we got a little shakeup in the Fairway Woods. We got TSR 2, TSR 2 Plus, and TSR 3. I'm sure you've seen photos.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen them in person or not, but I'm sure that you've seen photos. What's your take? What do we got?
Have not seen in hand, unfortunately. I was not out there with you and Greg, so I did not get to put them in my hand yet. But overall, my first impressions, they're definitely Titleist. I like that they have kind of a minimal kind of look to them, a little bit like TSI series. Overall, I think the shapes are again super classic, very Titleist. Mm-hmm. Interesting to see that TSR 4 is part of the initial launch because that was always typically a little later in the line. But not seeing a TSR
like way later, like May. So they used to drop it like way late.
Yeah, it was usually way later. So usually, I thought when this launch was going to happen. Now, granted, this is on tour, so TSR 1 is not something that those guys will ever play. But I thought we'd see 1, 2, 3, and then maybe 4 a little bit down the line. So very interesting that we didn't see a 1, but we see 2, 3, and 4. But I think they look really good. I mean, the 3 still has the weight track on the back. They still have the same, like I said, shape, gloss black. I don't think we got any details yet. We don't know if there's carbon on the crown, which I know a lot of people were hinting at that they may go to multi-material. Looks like they're still running the ATI face. The graphics on there look very similar. But overall, I think different enough where it's brand new, but it's still Titleist when you look at it. Even if there was no logo, you would look at it and say, this is Titleist. So, I think overall a really good line. If you got to think they're going to perform well, and if they perform, like TSI did, they're even a little better now. They're going to be absolute cannons out there. So, but overall, I like the look. I like the look a lot.
I think this was a big don't mess it up year for Titleist.
Yeah.
Like the TSI was such a world beater, such a great driver. Free agents were playing Titleist drivers, whereas, in years immediately prior, probably not the case. But I will give some inside scoop from what I heard out on tour. I talked to a bunch of different players just to kind of get their initial reactions. Obviously, it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the first time a lot of these guys are hitting the product. I'm sure some guys tested it when it was still in prototype phase, but this was the first look at it. Like, this was the official launch. So 18 guys ended up switching into the TSR. The driver.
Really?
Which I think is a pretty solid first week. And that kind of goes to show that it's slightly better. And everyone I talked to kind of said the same thing. It sounds a little better. It feels a little better. And it's about 1 mile per hour to 2 miles per hour faster. Pretty much everyone I talked to said the same exact thing. And that was about 8 different guys, maybe 10 different guys, all saying, I'm not sure if I'm going to put it in yet. It's the first week. I need a little time to make sure it's tweaked, got the hosel settings right, the right shafts in it, got internal weighting right, get me dialed. But it feels, sounds, and performs just like slightly better. I mean, they didn't mess anything up. They didn't make any drastic changes to profiles. I think the look is kind of just a little bit cleaner. I think it looks really sleek, really cool. So I think they really just took the TSI and improved it a little bit. I have no idea what the TSR, I don't know what the R stands for.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are speculating all over the internet right now what the R stands for. But in terms of big name switches, Jordan Spieth switched to the TSR 3 at 10 degrees. Charles Howe III threw in a TSR 3 10-degree head. I guess it depends on what you consider big names, but it was 18 guys. And then, so that was the driver. Now the 3-wood.
Still a lot.
I was hearing some really good things about the 3-wood. Pretty much to a man, everyone I asked was like, the 3-wood's really good this year. And I was like, well, what's different? And they were like, it's pretty significantly higher launching. And spin is not increasing. So got a nice high launch out of that. Distance is solid. And then stopping the ball on par 5s using the stopping power of the landing angle. They also extended the grooves out. Well, I guess they didn't extend the grooves out. But they're full face grooves where you can see like the white paint in each of the grooves. You know what I mean? From address. And that's not how the 3-woods looked last year. I'm pretty sure they blacked the paint out in the center of the face of the 3-woods last year, right?
Yeah, they did. I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, TSI 3 was blacked out.
Yeah, everyone was pretty fired up about that. I know Lonto Griffin especially, I was curious to see what he ended up switching to because he was like, listen, I like all the models that I've hit so far and the lofts. He was like, I just got to figure out which one I'm going to play. He ended up switching, this is Lonto Griffin, the TSR 3 16.5 degree. I know he was kind of going back and forth, so I was just personally curious because I was talking to him at length a little bit, but he was like crazy fired up. He's like, dude, this 3-wood's really good. You know, people don't usually get like that fired up about new product. They kind of try to downplay it just in case they don't throw it in play, but he was, no questions asked, he's throwing that thing in play.
That's,
I guess in terms of like fan feedback, comments, and forum thread wise, like, what are you seeing there? I know people were kind of hoping for the triangle alignment 8 on the crown instead of the text. People, listen, I get it. That was the 983K. A lot of the classic Titleist drivers had that on the crown. But other than that, I mean, what are people saying? I haven't really looked at all that.
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, most people are super excited. I mean, I think people understand this is Titleist. You're not going to see crazy colors. You're not going to see wild changes and crazy materials all over. Like, that's just not their thing. So I think people are very excited for these models. And I think, you know, how good TS was and then TSI and now TSR, I think people are really, you know, excited to try these and see what the improvements are. An interesting note, I mean, you get a couple people who say, like, oh, they're going to be 2% better. Like, okay, we get it. Like, they're not going to be, you know, you're not going to gain 50 yards if you've already been fit into
That's where we're at in the industry right now, you know?
Yeah. But, everybody's pretty excited about the shapes. I think a lot of people are kind of excited about the TS4 now, seeing that it's got 2 movable weights. Maybe it's now a low spin option that could add a little forgiveness. If you can put, you know, maybe a heavy weight in the back or something like that. I think that 2 Plus has a lot of people's interest sparked. It looks to be a little bigger, a little deeper face. And I think people are looking at that, maybe kind of that mini-ish driver, that absolute cannon off the tee for those short par 4s and things like that. But overall, yeah, I think a lot of the membership, the forum members, are pretty excited to get their hands on them, and so far they're liking what they're seeing from the photos.
Yeah, I'm not seeing in the list that Titleist sent over, at least, I'm not seeing any of the TSR 2 Pluses. So I'm going to be very interested to try it myself and just see what it's all about. Obviously, I'm a mini driver supporter, so if it's anything like that, I'm probably going to like it. But yeah, big Titleist launch. Like, that was the buzz around the course. Everyone's opening up their little bubble wrap of their driver heads, twisting on shafts, and they were out there testing. So it was really fun just to kind of see the guys happy to test some new product. Obviously, with a little U.S. Open hangover going on out there, it was fun to get some intrigue. And what else on the Titleist front? What else needs to be said about it?
I will say, though,
I just want to say real quick before I forget.
Yeah.
I held them in my hand. I know people are talking about maybe it being a carbon fiber crown. I couldn't see that. So they either hit it or did something internally. I'll just say from my vantage point, I literally know nothing about the tech. Titleist has not talked to me about the tech. I don't know what changes they've made. Obviously, they've done something because everyone's commenting about feel and sound. But to me, the crown doesn't look any sort of carbon fiber-ish. So that's just my take.
Yeah. None of the pictures look. You can't tell either. I mean, you and Gray were taking pictures in like direct sunlight. I mean, it's direct sunlight, and you can't really tell. Couple interesting things that I'll take away from, especially fairway woods. One, none of them have the channel anymore, that arc channel right behind the face on the sole, where the TS2, TS3, or TSI2, 3 both had those. Neither one of those are there anymore, which is interesting. I don't know what they've changed in terms of the face flexing, what they're doing technology-wise there. And the other thing, too, is TS2 with the weight that used to be in the back is now pushed forward, and it's all, a little closer to the face. It's not as far back as it was, which is kind of interesting because TSR2 you would think was going to be a little more forgiving, higher launching, easier to hit one. And then TSR3, again, loses that kind of flex, that channel there, but it has a few more adjustments in terms of the movable weight on the sole. So before you just had toe, neutral, heel, and now you've got basically a neutral, 2 in the heel, 2 in the toe, so you can kind of fine-tune that weight a little further, it looks like, on there. So, and like I said before, TSR4 having 2 movable weights, one up front behind the face and the other on the very back. That'll be interesting to see what you can do with that. But the face or the added dress shots that you and Greg took look great. They pretty much look pretty similar to the product they're replacing. There's little shaping differences here and there depending on what you're looking at, but for the most part, you're going to look down and these things are going to have that classic Titleist shape. So, yeah, I'm excited to try them as well. I definitely want to get my hands on a few of these and pound a few biscuits out there and see what happens.
Pound a few practice nuggets.
That's right.
I'm obviously not a golf club designer. I'm not an engineer. But my guess would be, like, we're seeing a lot of different weighting things change. Moving weights, kind of adding more weight changing capability. My guess would be getting rid of that active recoil channel or whatever the channel is up front. I think that adds a lot of structure and it almost raises CG would be my guess. So kind of getting rid of that internal structural channel, I would think would free up weight to be able to be used elsewhere. And that might be why they're higher launching as well, because maybe they figured out how to drop CG a little bit and they figured out how to get that face to flex and like produce the ball speeds and the forgiveness, the MOI that they were looking for without having the recoil channel. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
I have no confirmation of that whatsoever. I'm just kind of thinking about it now that you brought that point up. So that would make sense to me, and literally everyone was saying it was slightly higher launching. So,
yeah, no,
obviously
that's a good point.
Something worked. If that was the goal, it worked.
Yeah, you made a good point. I mean, I agree with you there. I mean, I think getting rid of that channel is definitely a weight saving, could be a weight saving play, and we could learn. Well, I mean, we'll probably learn about it sometime in the near future.
We will learn about it sometime in the near future for sure. But for now, it's just tour seating and tour validation. Everyone's given their feedback. I'm not sure at this point in the game if Titleist can make changes to, I'm sure, a product that will be coming out at retail. But for now, everyone's testing, and that's the process. So look forward in the coming weeks for Titleist guys to be testing, maybe some free agents testing, something that we'll probably keep an eye on at least for the coming weeks as it's new. Now, there was something else new out this week, which actually we've seen a lot of already in Tour Players' bags, but this week was the official PGA Tour launch of the Callaway Jaws Raw wedges, which we've already seen in the bags of Kevin Kisner, Mark Leishman, Xander.
Yep, I say Xander.
And I think one other player has been using those wedges as well. But this was the official launch. So we finally got some tech information. The faces are confirmed raw, as the names would imply. There also is a black version, which I saw in Brian Stewart's bag at the U.S. Open, which I believe I put in the forum, so people did know there was a black version out there. Now, is this the club that you might have had in your bag today for your 9-hole match? Is this the equipment? Because you didn't say anything about the driver, so I'm assuming you have first-hand experience with the Jaws Raw wedges, and then we'll get into some tech. But let's hear your first-hand experience first.
I did. I had a Jaws Raw wedge, and it was in the Plasma Black. I think they're calling it. Is it Plasma Black? I think is what they're calling it.
Yeah.
The actual name of it. And I had the 60 Z grind, which is the new grind they have, which is pretty interesting. It's got like a kind of a beveled leading edge, and then it's got a wider sole in it, but it's got a little bit of trailing edge, a lot of toe trailing edge relief. Not as much as at least visually that you can like see in the heel, but it's got some trailing edge, heel toe relief, and it so far I hit 2 absolutely amazing shots with it. One of which little par 4, pounded a 3-wood down there, had 119 into the green. Have to hit it over some water. There's a little creek that runs in front. Proceeded to blade a pitching wedge just straight over the green, which was really nice. And had a big old bushy tree in front of me, which is really great. And then had a big old tree in front of me that I basically looked at, and I was like, well, I could try to run this thing underneath and whatever, but I'm like, I'm back far enough from it. Like, I think I can get over. And hit that wedge out of the rough, which the rough wasn't like nasty because it's kind of starting to dry out a little here. It hasn't rained in a while. And hit that bad boy straight up over the tree, landed, hit it to about 10 feet. And
let's go.
I guess even a little downhill,
great shot,
it stopped pretty much right there. Unfortunately, I didn't make the 10-footer, but tapped in for a bogey. And then on the 15th hole, hit it into the left greenside bunker, and it flat out plugged. So just a nasty little fried egg, and popped that bad boy clean out of there. Good, really good float with that sole. Through the sand, because the St. Clair Shores Golf Course, they put a little sand in the bunkers, baby. It's
okay.
It is not rock hard cement like it used to be. There's a little bit of sand in there now.
Good for you, man.
But got the thing out with no problem. It caught a little downhill slope, as it came out. So it again rolled to about 10 feet, and I literally burned I actually lipped it a little bit as I just missed that putt. So, but both. I hit a couple other shots with it as well, and I tell you what, it's got a good feel to it. It feels pretty soft. Seems to have a good amount of bite, even out of the rough. It seems to spin pretty well. So yeah, overall, so far, pretty impressed with it. Like I said, only hit a handful of shots with it today, not a ton, but it's overall so far. First impression is it's pretty nice.
So I think the Z grind is like obviously the biggest addition to the line. Not talking about any sort of tech changes. There is like a huge bevel kind of right up to that leading edge, which basically makes it chunk proof, is my understanding. Like, it's a low bounce wedge, but it's got a lot of bounce right up front to kind of keep you from digging too much into the turf. So maybe watch out for the blades, which you had a problem with, but I don't think chunking should be an issue. But I'm sure the more you get used to that wedge, the more confident you'll be, like, going in and digging out of the turf, because you won't have to worry about chunking it. I think that's the point of the grind, and that's basically what was told to me about, how it came about. Now, in terms of some of the tech changes, obviously a raw face. So the back of like the chrome version is obviously finished in chrome, but the face is raw. So there's none of that finish in between the ball and the grooves. So it adds that little bit more friction. I know there's huge arguments about whether rust actually adds spin or it doesn't add spin. That's one of those 50-50. You ask each golfer, and one says yes, rust helps. One says rust doesn't. If you talk to any like wedge designers, pretty much in the industry, they're going to tell you rust doesn't really matter. It's more about having the raw face and not having a finish in between the grooves, so that when the ball slides up the face, it can really dig onto the edge of the grooves. They do have very sharp wall angles. The new Callaway wedges, I believe, 37 degrees. And they also have like their little in-groove technology is kind of at an angle, so that when you open the face, you kind of get that extra little dig or extra added friction on the face when you throw it all the way open. So no matter what like angle it sits at, you're getting that nice grab on the grooves. They did make a change to the head profile overall, a much straighter leading edge, which they were saying basically all their tour players were asking for. They prefer that head shape. I talked to Mark Leishman personally. He said, I used to grind the leading edge of my wedges to be straighter. So he was obviously on board with the profile change, and it definitely is a lot straighter. So if you like that more iron type look rather than like the really rounded leading edge of a wedge, these are definitely going to be your style. And then there's also some progressive hosel lengths going on here. So the high lofted wedges, I just want to make sure I have this right. The high lofted wedges have a really long hosel, which is kind of offset by tungsten weighting out on the toe. I mean, the point is to kind of get that CG out away from the heel, a little bit more into the toe section so it's centered on the face, while also kind of raising the CG of the high lofted wedges, because you want to hit that low penetrating ball flight with a lot of spin. Now, on the lower lofted wedges, the hosel is a little bit shorter. You obviously want like your 46 or your 52, something that you're going to be hitting mostly from the fairway as an approach wedge, not like you're trying to manipulate shots and hit little stingers. These are mostly shots you're hitting from the fairway. You want those to be a little bit higher, so you want that CG to be a little bit lower, so they drop the hosel length down a little bit, and then there's no tungsten on like the 56 and 52, and then I think they have one tungsten weight on the 56, and the hosel length is in between long and short. So an interesting little weight configuration, kind of manipulating CG there. It's really all based on tour player feedback and what those guys want, how amateurs and pros play their wedge shots. Like 60, you want it to fly a little lower. 46, you want it to fly a little higher. So all the changes make sense to me, and giving the people a raw face. It's what people want.
Yeah.
People want the raw face.
That's what people want. We pulled them all. That's what they want. But it's funny. I will say one thing too about the raw face. So I was trying to get some of the faces to rust. They sent in some media samples. We put some photos up as well from our in hands. And when you spray a liquid on the face, it definitely dissipates way different than like a chrome wedge. Like it kind of, I don't know if it funnels into the grooves or what, but like it kind of funnels off the flat sections of the face.
You're saying on the black wedge?
Quicker. Yeah, well, on the black one, yeah. Like when I sprayed it, it was like kind of like it would funnel away real quick. So I think, like you said, the rust part, that's a debatable thing of yes or no for more spin. But I think in terms of handling moisture, at least from the black one, it looks like, or the black finish, it looks like it kind of moves that moisture away from the flat sections of the face into the grooves or away a little faster than, like I said, like a chrome wedge or something like that, where droplets seem to just sit on top. This kind of like, you can watch the liquid kind of like, almost move away, which was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, I think these things are going to be, said from me hitting them today, at least just the 60 degree, they seem to spin really well, even out of the rough. Out of the fairway, they bite pretty well, and I do agree. I like the shaping a lot better than the Jaws MD5. The 5 for me was it was a little long heel to toe, and like you said, it just had a leading edge that came into the hosel a little different, and this straighter leading edge, it almost looks a little shorter heel to toe than the 5 did. But I really like the look a lot, and I think so far with 9 holes in them, it performs pretty well. So I'll try to hit a little more before I give you my final verdict.
Callaway also made it a point to discuss like the par area, like the area between the leading edge and the hosel, kind of eliminating that hook. Like they kind of wanted it a little bit flatter and smoother. I don't know if you noticed that. I haven't personally hit the wedges yet, but it did seem from the shots I was taking in hand, like the photos I was taking, that it did look pretty smooth to me. I don't think I've ever been like super thrown off by the par area, like the hook. I'm usually thinking like over a wedge shot, hey, don't chunk it. But you know, the guys who really get in the weeds with how the par area looks, they went out of their way to make sure it was smooth. I will say that.
Yeah. And like I said, you're 100% right. It's definitely better, because that is one of the things that, for whatever reason, my eye goes directly to that when I first pick up a club by anybody, is I want to see that transition from the hosel into the leading edge. And I'm not going to lie, Callaway has not always been a wedge or even some irons that I've really liked looking at, just from that part of it. And recently, they have done a much better job, to my eye, of kind of cleaning that up and, like I said, making it a little straighter, a little less busy, not as much curvature to it. And it's something that I personally like. I'm not, like I said, I can speak for me. I don't know how everybody else feels, but like I said, that was always something with me, especially Callaway short irons and iron sets. It just, that part never looked right to me, and they're definitely improved over the past few years.
Well, they heard your concerns. I will say, when I pick up a golf club for the first time, I'm going to knock on wood super hard right here, but I always miss it out towards the toe. So my eye kind of goes out towards the toe. I want to see what the high toe looks like, what the leading edge looks like. I'm not really looking at the hosel section too much. I just want to make sure it doesn't have too much offset to where I'm over the ball thinking like, I'm going to hook this off the planet. So I might just, give a glance to offset, make sure we're good. But I'm mostly focused on the toe area. That's like really important to me. Getting something that I like looking at. That's with irons, drivers all through the bag. That's kind of just what I'm focused on, because I tend to play a toe draw. So now after having said this, that's why I'm knocking on wood, because it's like probably the next time I go out, I'll have the shanks. I'll be hitting hosel rockets all over the place. But normally not my problem. Usually all over the toe. So those were the two big equipment launches right there. Now, me and Greg, we're out shooting what's in the bags, as we do, talking to some of the reps. I'll just give a quick little rundown. Obviously, the U.S. Open last week. Oh.
Before you do that, before we jump into those what's in the bags, just want to let everybody know, hey, Bridgestone Golf, brand new line of Tour B golf balls. And you know what? They got a brand new Reactive IQ cover. So Reactive IQ is a smart cover technology that reacts to the force of impact. More spin with the wedges around the green, less spin off the driver, long iron, stuff like that. So go to BridgestoneGolf.com, check out the new Tour B golf balls, and give that Reactive IQ cover a try, a test of your own.
In their ad read that they sent over, did they have quote unquote stuff like that written out?
No.
Or was that an ad? That was an ad lib.
That was a little. That was just something I came up with. A little spice.
That was a nuts and special.
Yeah.
I like it.
Everybody makes chili a little different. There you go. It's all delicious. Just make it a little different.
That's great. That was good co-host work, calling me off and getting that ad read in from our wonderful sponsors.
I knew we were going to get dirty into the deep and dirty into the what's in the bag. So I'm like, you got to stop the train from rolling real quick.
Yeah, we're not going to get crazy dirty. I just have a couple highlights that I wanted to get through, and then we can get out of here. You can go enjoy your weekend. But I did personally shoot Tony Finau's what's in the bag this week. It had been a while since I actually shot it myself, because usually Greg takes care of. He does about 32 what's the bags per week, so that usually leaves me with just a couple. But he has some of the fattest grips of all time. So he plays Lampkin mid grips. But he also throws a bunch of wraps under there, and especially with the driver. I mean, he must have 12 wraps underneath that grip. Like, no joke. And he does play those custom green with the yellow cords. I mean, they're sharp-looking grips. They're just really big.
Yeah, that was a Lambkin UTX they did for the Masters a few years ago. It was like a limited edition. And yeah, he's been rocking them ever since, and they're sweet. They're kind of like white. They got like they're green, white cap on the top at the butt end, and then I think they have like kind of like a little yellowish cord running through them. But yeah, they're really slick. They're pretty cool. But you're right. They're looking at the photo you took of it. It just like bulges out from like the very.
You got to just look at that
is.
photo. You could just tell how many wraps are under there. It's actually wild, and it's a mid-sized grip as well. He must be a big Masters guy because he's still got the Masters Ping Special head covers too, and I was holding those a little bit. They are so fluffy soft. They're like marshmallow head covers. Yeah, and I said something. He was like, "Yeah, man, those head covers are no joke. They're so soft." I was like, "Yeah." I wish my pillow was
the other
that
thing
soft.
The other thing I noticed about the grip too, like just looking at the photo you took. There's very little taper to it. It looks like that not only do they put a ton of wraps on it, it looks like they put a bunch of wraps under the lower hand, the right hand, because it's very little taper down there, if any, down to their right hand.
I did notice that as well. I think the 3-wood's really interesting. Obviously, he's a Ping staffer, but he is playing a Callaway 3-wood. I talked to a Callaway rep over there, and this is basically the John Rahm prototype.
Yeah.
Triple Diamond T, I believe. And if you just look at the face, you can see clearly a different setup. Turf interaction, definitely way different from the retail models. Looks a bit more versatile, like if you're into shaping the ball, which I would assume if you're hitting 3-wood, like especially off the tee, that's kind of what you're looking for. Looking to hit little low cuts, little high draws, mixing it up for the people. This definitely looks like one of those clubs that you can do it with. I have it on good authority. His shaft is tipped 2 inches on that thing.
Oh,
and it's got about 13.25 degrees of loft on it, I believe, which essentially means I'm not getting that 3-wood airborne if I'm hitting it off the deck. So that's nice.
And that's a Diamante D Plus Limited 80.
Yep.
80 TX.
That's one of those no joke type clubs
TX,
right there.
Tip 2 inches. That's insanity right there. But I don't love the look of that John Rahm 3-wood personally. Just a thing.
Okay.
The way that
tell them how you feel.
The way the face is on it. At least from the address photos that you've taken and stuff like that. It's just for a 14-degree head. It looks like the face is a mile long from sole up to the top line, and you just see a lot of loft on it. And it's something about that shape. I don't know. And the back end of it is very rounded. And by that I mean like it's like a perfect circle they cut in half and slap it on the back. And usually fairway woods have a little taper to them, a little pear shape, something like that. This like has none of that, and it's just not a 3-wood that I look at and say, "Yeah, I'm gonna pound. I'm gonna hit this thing great. Like I'm gonna pound this thing." It's just not a fairway wood I have a whole lot of confidence in if I was to hit it.
Yeah, well, why don't you tell that to John Rahm's face? How about that?
I mean, I tell him I don't like it. It evidently works for him, not me.
I don't think it would work for me either. Very intimidating club to look down at. I'm not a fairway wood fan in general, so I'm probably out on that one as well. But kind of going down through the bag, he obviously still has the Vapor Fly Pro with some lead tape back there. I did ask him about it. I was like, how many backups you got of this thing? Like, how many you just got laying around? He was like, I literally only have one. He's like, but the first one I had lasted me about 6 to 7 years before it caved. He's like, I'm hoping to get another 6 to 7 out of this thing, and then I'll have one more. So he's like, should be able to take me to the end of my career. I just think it's so funny he still rocks that, and that's one of those popular clubs that stays around in players' bags. Something about that Vaporfly Pro driving iron. I don't know what it is, because there's plenty of driving iron options that have come out since then that I think are really good options. But when you look at it from address, not a lot of offset. There's nothing off-putting about it. Obviously has that the black finish on the head, so it looks pretty sleek to me. I get why guys like it. I think it's cool when I see it in the bag. puts a smirk on my face. But just from a performance standpoint, you would think they would have found something better, but obviously not, because he has no plans on taking that thing out of the bag. And I'm sure Ping has gotten some driving irons in front of him to hit and test, but I don't know. That's one of those you gotta pry it out of his cold dead hands to get that one out of the bag.
The guys who love that thing are just never getting rid of it. I mean, our boy Brooks still has it. I mean, it is in a few bags, and it will probably never leave until it, like I said, it's broken, and then they will finally have to get rid of it. But you're right. There's so many. Like every manufacturer right now has some type of utility iron, driving iron, whatever out there, and it's amazing that these guys can't find something else that would, newer or whatever. That's just their boy, like the old go-to. It's just pretty interesting. There has to be something about that head that nobody's telling anybody else of why the thing's so good.
Got something in there.
Yeah.
Now just going through his bag a little bit more, just some quick thoughts. Obviously, he doesn't like offset on his blueprint irons because there is none. I think it's pretty cool. He has the DST compressor 8-iron in there with like the super bent shaft. I think the point is like you're supposed to work on ball compression, get your hands out in front of the club. Pretty cool that he has that in there, also with the Lampkin cord grip that has about 8 million wraps underneath it. And then getting down to the putter, I did talk to the Ping putter rep, Dylan Goodwin, I believe his name is. They were looking at making a slight modification to this Ping PLD head that he's been rolling with. It's the one where he has like the drawn-on arrow underneath the hosel, and then he's got like the little white line addition and the little notch between the hosel and the top rail. Those are just for address aesthetics, like kind of checkpoint type things, make sure his address and alignment's in the right spot. But they were looking at making a little lead tape addition, adding 5 grams of weight last week at the U.S. Open, because basically he was just saying under pressure he wants a little bit more face awareness. Now, the greens last week ended up being a little firm for his liking, and he didn't want that extra speed that the added weight was giving him. So I believe he removed it, but he did have 2 different putters in the bag this week, one with the lead tape, one without. So this might be a situation where he kind of goes back and forth for a couple rounds until he figures out exactly what he wants to go with going forward. But I asked him which one's the gamer this week. He was like, the old one without the lead tape. So we'll see if the lead tape makes an appearance coming down the stretch, because it was something where, like, when game's on the line on Sunday, feeling the pressure, he wants that added face awareness. So we'll see if he's in contention on Saturday or Sunday. Maybe the lead tape makes an appearance, and that would be why. Just a little added weight.
So, quick thing for you before you get into the next one. What do you think? I pulled up while you were going through it. I pulled up on eBay Nike Vapor Fly Pro irons. Mm-hmm. What do you think the cheapest 3-iron, just 3-iron you can buy? It's shafted. It's got a shaft in it. Whatever that you can buy, just 3-iron on eBay right now.
Like basically a replica head of what Finau's playing?
Yeah, just a 3-iron head. Vaporfly Pro. Same one, black. It doesn't have the same shaft. It's just
the way you're setting this up makes me want to say like $300. My real guess would be like $49.99, but the way you're setting that question up, it sounds like it's expensive.
You are hit the nail on the head. $299.99 is the cheapest one on eBay right now, and there's not many. There's like 4.
Unbelievable.
And it is the cheapest one, and it just has like a stock S300 in it, like nothing fancy.
Wow.
There's one that's $360. That's got like a little upgraded shaft. There's one that's $700 that somebody's trying to get.
What?
With a Kurokage black. And then there is a 2-iron that is supposedly Kepka specs, as this eBay ad says, that they want $1,200 for it.
What is going on with this driving iron? I need to do more research.
I don't know.
I think I need to talk to like either an old Nike designer, or I need to test it for myself or something. I don't recall ever hitting it personally, and I'm a driving iron guy.
No, I never did.
The look's kind of up my alley, actually. I'm certainly not going to buy one on eBay to test it.
For $1,200
for a driving iron. You got to be kidding me. Good for
now
you.
That
if
is
you
a
can get
Tour
it.
Issue 2 iron, but yeah, $300 to get your if you
I
want
don't care
to.
what it is. $1,200 for an iron? Nah.
For a single iron, not even like the set, single iron. So yeah, if you want to get your create your own, Tony Finau special there, that Vaporfly Pro, be willing to spend about $300 on a head.
It's yours for 5 easy payments of $350. Unbelievable. So just some other highlights real quick. Ricky Fowler. It's like a weekly rotation of putters at this point, but he was testing with... It's basically the same prototype. It's that Cobra mallet, like without the wings on the back, but slightly different sole plate. I believe they added 5 grams to the sole weight, and then it's got a really cool little design for his daughter. Got her name on there, some festive flowers, I believe, and then her birth date. Pretty cool. Yep. Pretty cool little number. We'll see how long that putter lasts in there.
And I think that putter, I mean, looking at it, it does look like, I think it's a new putter. I don't think they just took the old one and put a different sole plate on it. Because the face
I think it's
does
a new head
look
too,
like yeah, because the face, the face, the kind of like the SICK groove technology, which I don't know if they're actually using the SICK descending loft technology, but the milling on the face is much better than the original one. I think because I don't think the photos we were able to get there were super close on that head, and the face looked like it was kind of had some weird kind of milling or whatever. This one's got a much better milled face to it. That does have the 4 sections like a SICK face. We just don't know if they're actually different lofts.
Yeah, I'm sure the original one that he put in was kind of like pieced together at the last second, and then with more models they produced. They got the hang of exactly what they were looking for, I'm sure, and they made a cool little custom job on the sole there. So pretty cool from Ricky Fowler. And then I just had one other what's in the bag I kind of wanted to go through. Let me just pull the photos up. I went through Martin Trainer's bag. It immediately caught my eye because he is still rocking the Wilson Staff Model Blade 2 iron. And anytime I see a Blade 2 iron in the bag, I'm going to look. And I started looking a little more at his bag. I was like, cool little raw wedges. And finally I asked his caddy, Lumberzak, on Instagram. I was like, all right, I think I'm going to have to shoot a full what's in the bag here. And I'm happy I did, because I took the driver cover and the fairway wood cover off, and he's got the Wilson Staff Model Wilson Lab driver and 3 wood. The driver's 6.5 degrees.
Oh,
so,
what?
Yeah. I mean, he hits the ball pretty hard. Obviously, you don't want the ball skyrocketing too high and losing control of trajectory. 6.5 is shockingly low.
Yeah.
I mean, that's getting into Bryson territory. And I just think those Wilson clubs look pretty clean. Like, they got the matte black. I think they have really nice shape looking down at them from address. Little carbon fiber on the crown for the driver. Nice clean look on the 3 wood. No alignment lines or marks to be seen there. So, I don't know. I just think Martin Trainer's setup is kind of a gamer setup. I respect what he's got going on, so I just want to make a note of that.
It is sneaky good. And the funny thing is, like, these Wilson Labs, I remember we saw him with Woodland right when he signed. Like, he had, he's testing out some of these Wilson Lab drivers and all that.
I don't think they lasted in his bag, though.
No, they didn't. And it's interesting because, like, we see him pop up, we see him get tested a lot, but, like, we've never seen anything in retail that looks anything like it from Wilson, which is the interesting part. Like, there's never been, like, a version of that club that ever has made it to retail that we can buy, and it's like, why are you giving? I mean, we understand why are you giving these guys something different than what you're selling to the public, and it's because none of us need a 6.5 degree driver to play. But it'd be interesting to know.
Give us a 10 degree option, though.
Yeah, exactly. They can make it a 10.5.
We can handle the 10. It looks really clean.
But it'd be interesting to know, like, what part of the tech out of these heads goes into the D9s and, you know, whatever, the retail drivers, because they look so different. And like you said, I think the driver looks really good. He's playing that what is it, the Callaway blue, which isn't
I say
out
Kylie.
yet. I always say Callaway, but whatever. But Kylie.
You also
fun.
pronounce a lot of the shaft names wrong, in my opinion.
Thanks. That hurts.
You do. It's just one of your things.
He's got the Kylie blue in there, which isn't out yet. The three.
I think it's Callaway, actually. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh God, you know what?
I'm kidding.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty mean setup. It'd be interesting to hit one of those like in a natural loft, like a 9.5 or 10.5 or something like that. But overall, yeah, it's a pretty. Wilson's just kind of super underrated. I mean, I know like a lot of forum, you know, Golf to Beer X people, like they know and love the irons, but you know, I think those woods are probably legit. The wedges are decent. I've hit them. The Wilson, the staff models, they spin pretty well, and the high toe one was like super easy to hit. You hit it anywhere on the face and spin like crazy. So they're kind of a sneaky good company.
I just love how his staff model wedges, like the 60 degree is so ground down that he had to restamp 60 onto the sole. Like, I just love that. I love when there's so much work done to a wedge, you got to restamp the loft so you know what you're hitting. So definitely respect to Martin Trainer's setup. Just another shout out, just real quick. We don't have to go through his bag because I don't believe that he's changed anything recently. Cole Hammer is making his PGA Tour debut as a pro. So all the Cole Hammer fans, it seems like that name's been around for like a decade. So I was a little shocked to hear that it was his PGA Tour pro debut. But we did shoot his what's in the bag. I was talking to the Ping rep. He had been playing a dot on his Ping PLD prototype putter, like as not the top line, but the alignment aid on the top rail. He was playing a dot. He has since switched to a line. I guess they were doing some testing and realized that his aim was just straight up better with the line. And then he changed the milling depth a little bit. He went a little bit more shallow. Now with deep face milling, typically you're going to get like a softer feel, more muted sound. Smoother faced, more shallow milling, you're going to get a little higher pitch, and it'll feel a little bit firmer, so you get a little bit more feedback, and that's kind of what he was looking for. I guess it was a little bit too soft before, so a couple minor little putter changes there, but the rest of his bag is up there on golftobeerx.com/forums, and it is in the tour and pre-release section, along with all the other beautiful what's in the bag photos that Greg shot this week, including some of my own, just a couple. Also check out the Titleist TSR drivers and fairway woods. I know people are chirping away in there about their thoughts on the photos, and then Callaway Jaws Raw. We got a bunch of photos up in there of all the grinds, all the finishes. You want to see what we're talking about with the leading edge? Head on over there in the forums. That's all I got this week, Knudsen. I won't be at John Deere next week, unfortunately, so we're going to be dependent on Greg's photos next week. And then we're headed over to the Scottish Open and I almost said the British Open, the Open Championship at St. Andrews. So we'll be doing, I guess what we should do is like a little podcast, like three guys talking golf, me, you, Greg. Me and Greg maybe we'll post up somewhere in the town of St. Andrews and do a podcast live from there or something like that.
That's pretty awesome, man. That'll be pretty cool. You always be over there. I will give a shout out to. I do have to say I like Scott Stallings' new putter that you guys got photos of there. He's got the JT knuckle, the knucklehead.
That's right. You're a knucklehead.
T5 knucklehead. And but he's got a cool, pretty interesting shaft. I remember seeing on like Instagram, UST is jumping into the graphite putter shaft game as well, and he's got one of those in the putter as well, which is kind of cool. You haven't seen many of them around yet, at least, but he's rocking one. And I do say that putter is just kind of a cool putter with that knuckle neck, man. It's just kind of a cool putter. It just makes it look a little.
You
different,
want one of those so bad. I know.
And that's your style. That's it. It kills me. It kind of is. Just
you like the wing mallets. I know you.
A little bit. I've speaking of putter, I do have another putter on order. I just ordered a putter.
Do you want to do like a live unboxing reveal when you get it?
I mean, I'll definitely do a
create
live
some
unboxing.
tension. Don't tell us what it is yet, and then.
Yeah, it was a very
like
interesting. It was one of those but I got a new putter coming. It's going to be a few weeks though, so don't worry.
Little custom
about
piece
it too much yet. A little something for the boy.
For the kid.
But
okay, so a little cliffhanger to.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. I feel like Cole Hammer has been on tour for like 10 years. I don't know why.
10 years at least. He's like a veteran.
At least.
In my eyes.
I actually thought he was jumping to the Champions Tour this year, and that's what you were talking about. But I guess not.
Oh, man. All right. That was it from the Travelers Championship. I'm going to go get some sleep because I wasn't doing any sleep in the Reno airport. I know that. And I won't see you guys next week from John Deere. We will do a podcast next week, and then look out for the next 2 weeks, Scottish and the Open Championship. Those will be fun. Live from.
It's gonna be me talking to Tursky while he's eating some haggis.
I will not be eating any haggis.
Was it Bangers and Mash? That's also what's. I don't know what the cuisine is over there. That'll be interesting. I can't wait to hear about you and the cuisine because I know you eat. I won't say that you're the pickiest eater in the world, but you are far pickier than, say, like I am and some other people. So it'll be really interesting to see, what your favorite dishes are. If you try some of the local fare, what it is, I'll be excited to hear back. So that's high on my list to talk about when you're over there. I've been over there before. It didn't go great, but I'll make sure to keep an open mind this time and report back with some reviews. So, all right, I love it. All right, Knudsen, that was a pleasure podcasting with you today. That was Likewise. 2 guys talking golf. We'll see you next week. Still go, 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 go.